Hey, you, welcome to the good, the bad, and the sequel Q&A. My name's Doug. This week's special video interview is with actor and voice actor. Man, you've seen him so much and you've heard his voice so many times over the years. I'm talking about Garry Chalk, whether it's on Transformers, G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles. You've heard him so much over the years without knowing. You've seen him a lot too. We talked about his role in Freddy versus Jason, the series Cold Swad, The Fly 2, where he plays Scorby. We talked a lot about Scorby because that was a big turning point in his career. And the fact that there wasn't one of the biggest financial crises ever in the history, rivals 1929, the stock market crash. The one that happened in the 70s, that's the only reason that Garry gave up, working in the stocks. And we're lucky for it, and he's lucky for it too. And so we talked about his entire career, how he started, his ad reads. Oh my God, the way he can just turn on the voice and change. And he talks about, his theory and how he figures out a voice to do, how he emulates people that he's dealt with in his life. So that's pretty funny. Lots of stories about Freddy versus Jason, The Fly 2. It's so much more. Garry's great. Before I start the interview, it's a video interview, so you'll see Garry do it. And man, love talking to him. Please subscribe, hit the bell, because we have a lot of great interviews, including this one. More coming up, and more, some that happened in the past already. So if you love this, subscribe. Also, we do some movie sequel reviews. So after you'll watch this, which I know you'll love it, go back, check out our catalog. We have like 200 plus other episodes that you could check out. I'm going to quit stalling. And here is actor and voice actor, Canada's favorite son, even though he was born in England. Canada loves him. Garry Chalk. Well, Garry, this is awesome, man, because a lot of times you don't know. Like, I've talked to a few different voice people you probably worked with over the years. One, Neil Ross, which I'm sure you crossed paths with.
Probably cross paths with, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times you don't put the face behind, because you're on TV too. You do both, the voice and in front of the screen. So like, I know you from so many different things, like Fly 2 and Freddy versus Jason, but your voice credits are unbelievable. What was the first journey for you? First credit was voice, right?
My first credit was film.
Oh, okay.
It was called, I can't remember I think it was called A Man, a Woman, and a Bank. And it was with James Coburn.
Oh, nice. That's a good way to start.
And it was directed by a fellow named John Gillerman, who did a movie called The Towering Inferno.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. So it was that was my first movie. It was the first movie that I actually had lines in. And it was 1981, maybe. I had a film before that, but I didn't have any lines that I can remember. It was called The Gray Fox, 1980. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's another one right around that time too, Mr. Patman, where you just play a policeman.
Looking for Mr. Patman. That was the other one. No, Man and Woman in the Bank with Donald Sutherland.
Oh, okay.
That's who it was. Looking for Mr. Patman was the one with James Coburn and Gillerman, and it was pretty exciting. There's a guy who I just like my idol when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And here I am doing a scene with him on this movie, and I'm just sort of gobsmacked, but it was pretty cool. And that was way back then. And since then,
you've been doing a lot. So how did it all start, Garry? Where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Vancouver.
Oh, nice.
Vancouver, Canada. And I was born in the UK. I came over here when I was about 5 or 6. I was just a kid. And I've always lived here. I had a brief stint in Hollywood and a brief stint in Ottawa for a couple of years. I was there. I just was in Los Angeles for a little bit. I wanted to sort of make some inroads, but I really didn't like the vibe, so I just stayed home.
Yeah, and it worked with the boom of Vancouver, like right around the time you started it, like a little bit after that is when that all happened. But why did you? What made you pursue this this dream of being, on
Oh,
TV and
being on
film?
film and TV. Well, I was always a performer. I was a musician first. I liked playing music, and I did a lot of theater when I was younger. I had my first taste of being on stage when I was about 9, I guess, and I sang in a choir when I was 12 on TV on the Ron Morier's Saturday Dance Party, and that got me hooked. I just loved it, but I thought it was just for fun because I never got paid, so it
Yeah.
was just for fun. So I did musicals at high school and the usual things, but I never thought of doing acting as a career. And then I was working as a stock trader at the stock exchange in my early 20s, and the market just tanked, and a lot of us got laid off, and I was one of them. And I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do now? So I went back to college, and what I wanted to do was be an English literature teacher and an anthropology teacher. I just loved anthropology and literature, so I went, and I did very well. I was almost a straight A student in that, and I thought, well, this is cool. I like this. And then for one of my lit projects, I had to go and watch a play downstairs. Now, I had never really watched a play before. Oh, no, that's a lie. I watched a show called The Ecstasy of Rita Joe, or sorry, The Grass and Wild Strawberries. And the only reason I watched it was because there was a band named Chilliwack who was playing the music, and I loved the band. And a guy who I knew named Chief Dan George was the star of the play. And I thought, I got to go see this. So I went and saw it. And that was pretty exciting. But then I'd never actually been to a play, like a play. And I went and saw a play at Studio 58 at Langara called Of Mice and Men. And it was so good. And the production value was so good. And the acting was fabulous. And I said, that's what I want to do. I'm going to do that. So I went and I auditioned for the program, for the theater program there. And there was a fella who ran it, a British guy named Anthony Holland, who was a pretty well-known actor at the time. And I auditioned for him at a Russian hall. I think it was called the Russian Hall or the Scottish Hall. And he was reading a newspaper, and I was doing my audition. I was acting my face off, and he looks up and he goes, well, you got some talent, not much, but some. All right, thank you. And then I was in. So I got into this marvelous 2-year program, and it was very intense, and it had lots of shows. And I didn't realize at the time they only let in 15 people per term.
Wow.
For this from across the country. So I thought, well, this is pretty cool. But anyway, when I graduated from there, only 3 of us graduated out of the class of 15. We lost them by attrition or whatever, but I had to stick with it. I nearly got kicked out of school for tearing a strip off a teacher one day, and a French teacher, and Anthony called me into his office today and said, they want me to throw you out. But I'm not going to. But don't do it again. And I said, okay, I won't. And I was doing a play called, or a musical review called Jacques Brel's Alive and Well, Living in Paris. And it was the only play at the school that was held over after we graduated, so they had to pay us. Not a lot, but they had to pay us because it sold out every single performance. It was just a wonderful show, and I got the best reviews I've ever had.
Wow.
I got a review from CBC National Radio that said, this guy, Garry Chalk, is a phenomena. I don't know how, I don't know where, but somehow Jacques Brel must have known he was alive and wrote these songs just for him. And I went, okay, I'm ready. And I got people, you got to go to Broadway. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I'm going, no, I'm gonna do some plays. So I did some plays and finally got my first taste of being on set with a film, which was, funnily enough, an industrial film for a department store, or an industrial. Yes, it was an industrial film for a department store on bagging groceries. And the other one was for operating a dishwasher for the White Spot chain. And it was just me telling, and when you use the L500 dishwasher, one of the most important things, the things we do.
That's great.
And I really liked it. And then I got into a real movie, which was the Mr. Patman. And my big breakthrough, I did some TV shows, but that my big breakthrough was, believe it or not, The Fly 2.
Yeah, Scorby.
Because Scorby was voted most popular character by the critics down in San Francisco or down in California. They loved my villain. So when that show went onto the big screen, I got calls from Paramount and Metro MGM and all these people. They're going, no, this guy's cool, and they wanted me to play Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. They wanted me to play her husband in that television series. But as soon as they found out I was a Canadian, boom, it all went down. Because they didn't want to go through the hassle of going through the 01, which was a really laborious and long time process. So I stayed home, but I still worked a lot. I got another big breakthrough after that, was with Farrah Fawcett. I did a mini series with her called Small Sacrifices, which was a big critical success. And then again, the phone calls start coming. And again, oh, he's a Canadian. So who is this guy? Where is it? But
was it just paperwork, or they had to pay something for it, or?
Well, to get that 01, it costs altogether. If you do it yourself, it costs about $14,000, because you have to get all these letters and recommendations and blah blah blah, and they just didn't want to go through the hassle of doing the 01 or the work permit. But now it would be easy for me to get a work permit because I have national recognition, because I have 2 national awards. But because of those awards, because now it's too late. I'm 70, so I don't really want to go to Hollywood anymore. All I want to do is just, hang out at home, work on shows for a little while, and then just come home.
Yeah.
But I liked it when I was in Hollywood, but, I really didn't get a large charge out of the scene there, because it was it's a very weird, it's a weird place, Hollywood. People look at you and they go, what have you done? What are you doing? What do you got coming up? And why wasn't I called? So you just sort of go, okay, I'm going to stay here. But as I looked at, over 400 shows.
Yeah. So back to the Vancouver, because you were there in the boom. It's funny, whenever I talk to people that are from or around Vancouver, when that boom started, when it came with filming, 21 Jump Street, Wise Guy. I saw you're in the pilot of that. Yeah. So there's all of these shows that are booming at that time. And it's so funny. You got to think you had that great review by CBC International. And the thing that makes you break, not it's good or bad or anything, but Scorby and Fly 2. Now, one thing I wanted to ask about that movie was your death scene is so vicious looking. How much were you? Yeah. Was that you the whole time, and then they just had you on a bed or something?
Yep. John Thomas was one of the greatest wire guys, one of the good special effects guys. I don't know if you ever saw a movie Cliffhanger.
Oh, yes.
He did all the wire work. That wire where the woman falls to her death. Well, she actually fell. on a decelerator, and she stopped about 6 feet from the ground,
Insane.
and she actually fell the whole way. So it was quite amazing. But he was such an amazing guy with wires. But he had this rig set up. If you watch the show, he had a rig set up where my bottom half was like fake legs with the jacket, and then they had me on this sort of Catherine's wheel thing, and the top half was real. And what they did is they had it on a wheel, and they had all like 12 puppeteers around it, all puppeting, making the monster kill me. And I remember it was quite funny because as he was strangling me, I'm going, "How come I never get a goddamn love scenes?" Under my breath. But and then they just did the wheel, so it looked like I'm being broken in half. And it was amazing, and it looked great, but it took hours and hours. I don't know how many times, the coordinating the monster, and I went upside down and up and upside down and up. I got off that rig. I walked 5 steps, and I promptly threw up all over the floor. I got so nauseous. It was just awful. But it was the most fun, that movie. It was the greatest. One of my best film experiences, I think. All my film experiences are pretty good, but that one really stuck out as one of the best. And it was a hallmark or landmark for me because I was the first guy in Vancouver to get a lead role in an American feature film.
Wow.
Because usually we're just a backlot, and back then we were still kind of a backlot. But people were starting to get recognized as good actors, and now it's a whole different story. Now the Vancouver is recognized as one of the major production centers in North America. I mean, next to Toronto, it's Toronto, Los Angeles, Vancouver, New York. And actually, there's sort of a joke going on, and they refer to Hollywood now as Vancouver South.
Vancouver South.
Because of all the productions. But that Fly 2 actually really launched my career, and it was the people were wonderful. I'm still friends with the director, Chris Wallace, who's now retired. He makes, I don't know if you've ever gone to his Facebook page or anything, but he still makes monster models, and he makes these weird sort of monster trains, like model trains from scratch.
That's awesome.
If you go, just look up Chris.
I'll check it out.
Chris Wallace. He makes some amazing stuff. And
was that his first direct? That was his directorial debut.
Yeah.
Because I forgot what movie he worked on just before that. I think he was supposed to do the creatures.
I think he was doing Ghostbusters. No. Or no,
he did Gremlins? Yeah, because he was supposed to do Gremlins 2, I think, but he chose he got the gig to do Fly 2, and that's how Rick Baker got the job on Gremlins 2. I remember on Gremlins, that sort of connections.
But Chris designed all the Gremlins.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool when you see them, and a great story about that. I was in a hotel in Cannon Beach in Oregon.
Oh, I used to live in Oregon. Cannon Beach is beautiful.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I was at the not the Seaside. It's called the Seaside Village. No, not Seaside. It's in Cannon Beach. The Hallmark. It's called the Hallmark Hotel, and it's right by Haystack Rock.
Yeah, I love it.
And I remember sitting in the hot tub, and there was a woman there, and a guy, and her husband, and their kid, and the woman said, "Oh, I know you. You're that guy. You were on that movie." And I said, "Yes, hi, how are you?" And she goes, "Oh, this is fantastic." And the kid says, "I remember, yeah, you do cartoons." And I said, "Yes, I do." And he goes, "Can you send me a souvenir?" And I said, "I'll see what I can do." So I took their address, and I went to Chris, and I said, "Do you have any rejects from the teleportation pods? Do you have any, like the Inside Out cat or something like that?" And he goes, "Yeah, you can have that." I said, "What?" "Oh, yeah, you can have it." And I said, "Shut up." So I put this thing in a box. It's a cat, but it's inside out. It's just gross. It's monstrous. And I put it in this box and I sealed it up. And I said, "Caution, monster in box," like this. So I sent it off, and the parcel arrived at the kid's house in Oregon. But mother opened the box first and flipped out, started screaming like a maniac because it looked pretty real. And the kid goes, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And he looks and he goes, "Cool, he sent me my monster."
That's amazing.
So I get a letter from this kid back to my house, and it says, "Dear Mr. Chalk, thank you for this wonderful present. The monster was fabulous. I took it to school for show and tell. A kid wanted to buy it off me for $100, and I said no. Your friend Jonah."
That's amazing.
That was pretty funny.
That's like a lifetime story. Like, that's so cool when people do stuff like that. That's so awesome. You actually follow through.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah. Follow through and just do it. And it was just, oh. And since then, I mean, I don't know how many television shows and movie shows and cartoon shows. I think I've done about, I don't know, 2,000, 1,500 cartoons, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Somewhere around there. It's quite a bit. But yeah, so they sometimes they sort of blend. I know there was one movie that everybody was saying, "Oh, I saw you in that movie." And I said, "What movie?" And he went, "It was a movie called 3 Weeks, 3 Kids." And I said, "I have no idea what that is." And he goes, "No, you were in it." I said, "I was?" And he goes, yeah, you were in it." And I said, "Come on, I have no idea. I had no idea that I did this movie." And it was just on last week on TV, on Showtime or something. And I look, well, shit almighty, I am in it.
That is me.
I am in this movie. It's so funny. But it was very surprising because it's kind of a comedy with what's her name? Eliza Kutsu.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember her name, but yeah, she was very nice, and the whole show was quite cool. But
after you watched it, then the memories kicked in. The real,
oh yeah,
like
it was a lot of fun.
Like the acid flashbacks. You're like, oh, okay, you know what? I do remember that.
Yeah. No, it was great. But that Freddy versus Jason was hilarious. I got some great stories about that.
Oh yeah, well we'll get to that. One thing I wanted to ask was, so Fly 2, I assume, was filmed in Vancouver?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And it was a big deal. I think the budget on it was 23 million or 24 million, which was a big deal back then.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
And they built the set itself, I think, cost about 2 million because that was all real, elevator and all that stuff that you saw, the big control room scene. Where the fly goes through through the window. That was another trip. That was fun. But the effects in those days, everything was practical. There were no CGI, right?
I love that. Yeah.
So when you see that guy get killed by the elevator,
that's the best.
We were standing right there, all of us watching this, and everybody got completely grossed out because it looked so real, and the sound of it. And then my friend played the guy with the melting face. Remember that when he goes like this, and he pulls his face off? Do you know how they did that?
No.
That was done by Stéphane Dupuis, who was the head effects makeup artist there, and he won an Oscar for Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think, for the makeup on Raiders of the Lost Ark. So what they did is they built on this guy the bone mask, a mask of bone with the jaw, with the teeth, and then they built a muscle mask, and then they sewed little tubes of blood, and then little strings all through the mask, and then they put the skin mask on top of it like that. God. And then they attach the strings to the tips of his fingers. So he goes like this. He goes, ah! And he starts pulling his hand, and his face falls apart. And it looks so great.
Ah,
and it
that's
was all
awesome.
practical. It was just incredible. And then they made when I died, you know, when the monster stepped on me, a little puff of smoke comes out of my mouth. That was out of they made a life cast of me, and that actually happened. There was no effect. He stepped on it, and this puff of smoke came out of the mouth of it. And so, another side story to that.
Yeah.
I go into, well, it's a couple of great stories. I go into a makeup store years later, and it's called Act One. And I went in the store because I was getting some stage makeup, and I looked up, and there's my head. It's sitting on a shelf in the store. And I said, "Where'd you get that?" He says, "Oh, that was given to me by the production." And I said, "That's me." And he goes, "Is it?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Look." He takes the head down, and we put it side by side, and they're identical. And he goes, "Holy shit, it's you!" And I said, "Yes, it is. It's kind of amazing, isn't it?" He says, "Can you sign it?" And I said, "Yeah." So I signed my head, put it back on and then somebody stole it.
Oh no!
That was expensive. That cost so much money for that head to make the life cast because it's so perfect with the wig. I think it was around $8,000 or $9,000.
Jesus!
But I know they're expensive to make, but it was sitting there and somebody stole it, and then they recovered it again. But I don't know what happened after that. And then there was a time with there's a part in the movie where I got sprayed by the fly and my hand got dissolved.
Yeah.
Well, Stefan, that took like an hour or so to put that makeup on. But they did the same thing. They built a bone in my hand, and then they put tendons, and then they put the skin over top, and then they cut the skin away so that the tendons were showing. And then they put Eno, you know, Eno?
Eno? What's
bubbly,
that?
Bubbly, bubbly, Eno.
Oh,
like
yeah,
Alka-Seltzer. They put Alka-Seltzer on my hand, and then they put. Before that, they had the fake blood underneath, the sugar blood underneath, and then they put the Eno on the top of my hand, and then just before they shot, I go like this. I go like that. They spray it like this with red watercolor and water. And the Eno all fizzes up like it's like the acid dissolving my hand. I'm going like this. Oh. It looks so cool.
That's so cool that there's those items that are like you can buy at the store that look amazing on film.
Oh, incredible! And then I had a lunch break on that day. I had a lunch break, and I was asked to do some commercials for A&W because I used to do all the A&W commercials. A&W,
really?
You know, the new A&W teen burger. 12 beef, patted, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. You know, and I said, do those, a lot of them. And we used to write them too. And so I didn't want to take my makeup off because I had to go back to work, but I wasn't going back to work for several hours. So I said, well, can I go down and record these commercials? And he goes, sure, go on, piss off. So I get in the car, and I have to be very careful with it. So I get in the car. I get to the studio, and there's a studio called Pinewood. And it's all this kind of rough wood on the inside. And the producer of the commercials, who I've been working with for a long time, I walk in, and I slam my hand against the door. And I go, oh, my God. And she just about fainted dead away. She goes, oh, for Christ's sake, what's happened? What happened? I said, no, just pretend. She goes, oh, my God, it looks so real. And she slapped me for scaring her. But, oh, man, there was so much fun on that show. We had yoga classes. We had acupuncture. We had this thing called the there's this guy Bucky who was the lighting guy, the
Oh,
head
Bucky,
lighting
yeah,
grip.
no, he's pretty famous. He did
Yeah,
Halloween 4, and he put his
yeah,
name in the movie on the
yeah.
on the guy's shirt.
With the Illumalords, Bucky and the Illumalords. Well, Bucky and his crew built a swimming pool with tiki lamps and torches and whatnot outside on the studio parking lot, and it had lounge chairs and everything because we shot all summer,
Yeah.
and it was called Electric Beach. And at lunchtime, everybody would go diving into the pool and go swimming, and I couldn't do that, of course, because I've got prosthetic makeup on, so I can't do anything. I just have to watch the other kids play.
Garry, this is a good segue. You mentioned like the A&W and doing the ads for that. How did you get into doing voiceovers? How did that start?
Oh, well, when I was still in theater school, the head of the program, Anthony Holland, had friends who had some things that they needed advertising for, and he said I had a great voice for this. Would you voice these commercials? And I said, sure. So I went and it was commercials for like Sunny Rest Nursing Home. It was a nursing home, some nursing home commercials. So I did that, and they paid me, and it was nice. And but when I really got into it was when I went to Ottawa with my wife. My wife and I, or my ex-wife and I, got seconded to Ottawa for her job. So I thought, well, I can work here in the theater, and I can work in Montreal and Toronto. So why not? But I ended up working a lot in Toronto, in Ottawa, because they did a lot of voiceover for government voiceovers. Like the leave reporting system, or SRS, the FNC1 C1A1 or A1C1 semi-automatic rifle. It's all these things. And one day I got called into this studio called Sound Ventures, and the guy who ran the place is an old radio guy from Chum Radio named Chuck Rubin, and I'm naming him because he's so great.
Yeah.
But anyway, Chuck, I got called in to do a commercial for the Ottawa Citizen. Anyway, the Ottawa Citizen for the latest and greats in sports, news, and entertainment. But I didn't do it. The Ottawa Citizen for the greats in sports, news, and entertainment. And of course, the Ottawa Citizen, they liked their old guy who had the breathy voice. And Chuck said to me, they don't like it. So I got fired from that voiceover. So I've never been fired before. So I said, look at Chuck, I'll tell you what, if you can help me out with this, make me, if we can, teach me about the different kinds of reads and make me a demo, I'll do your next commercials for free. And he goes, deal. So he did. He taught me about man in the street, corporate reads, retail reads. Remember last year running around the last minute looking for the right Christmas gift? Only $99.99. It can be yours for $10 a month and 36 months OAC. All those things. And he taught me all these different reads: the breathy read, the close and intimate read, the big loud centurion, the mud pit read. All those different things. And we made a demo. And sure enough, I did his commercial for free, and it was for the Canada Revenue. And that tape, that first year, I think it made me like $15,000.
Wow.
Just doing that. And since that time, I've done a lot of commercials and a lot of voiceovers for different things, including cartoons, and it's made millions. So that lemon turned into a huge swimming pool of lemonade. So what I've always said is never say die. And the other great thing about doing those industrials and some of the stuff that I did in Ottawa was that I honed my film chops. Because you use the same principles. The content is different, but the principles are the same. So I learned about film acting and learned about hitting your marks and doing all that stuff perfectly. And And then I got a call one day, I think it was about 1983, got a call from my agent there who said, "Hey, can you do a cartoon? Have you ever done a cartoon?" And I said, "No, I'd like to do a cartoon." And she goes, "Well, okay, there's a cartoon audition for you at a place called Atkinson Film Arts." And Atkinson Film Arts are the guys who created Fritz the Cat,
No, yeah.
Heavy Metal. They did Fritz the Cat, Heavy Metal, The Man Who Skied Down Everest, all those kind of shows. And I thought, okay, cool. So I went over there and I auditioned for this cartoon called Hiawatha. And I ended up getting several roles on it, including Hiawatha.
Yeah.
So, so I went, oh, this is fun, and I had a great time and doing the cartoon. I recorded by myself. I didn't realize you could do it ensemble. It was by myself, and I got my check, and I went, oh, okay, I want to do this. And that was for Nickelodeon, and you can actually find it on YouTube. It was my first cartoon.
Oh, I got to check it out. That's great.
I had such a young voice. But yeah, my friend Candace Santora, who she handles all my fan page stuff and all the what I've got coming up and everything. She found it and she put it on my fan page on Facebook.
Oh,
It's pretty cool. Because I play Hiawatha and I also play Mujikiwis, who's his father, the god, and it's kind of nifty. So, but it was my first cartoon. Anyway, so I came back to Vancouver, and ever since I got back to Vancouver and started doing more commercials and got my first booking in a cartoon show, and it was G.I. Joe. Ended up playing Metalhead and Pathfinder and Sci-Fi and a bunch of others, and then what do you call it? Kissy Fur and He-Man, Master of the Universe, and what was that show? Cecil, the C60, Beanie and Cecil, and Captain Nintendo. And there was one after the other, and it just sort of blend. They all blended. I just couldn't remember them all, and I kept doing them all over the years. And I'm still doing cartoons to this day. And then the movie stuff was doing a bit, television things, small things, because it was Vancouver backlot. And then I booked that Fly 2.
Yeah.
And when I booked Fly 2, everything changed. Because the roles were getting bigger. Casting directors were seeing me for bigger and better roles. And I never stopped working since then. And in the 90s, it was just... It was insane. It was just insane. You just... Not only was I doing a whole pile of commercials every day, but I was doing television and film every single day, almost working. There was one year from January until July, I worked 7 days a week.
Wow.
Because I had like 4 or 5 different cartoon series plus doing movies, and I never had a day off.
How do you do the voices? Did you have a recorder to remember the different ones when you went from show to show, or
Yeah, I'd record all the different because you get lost sometimes.
I'm sure.
Who am I doing now? And it was a lot of fun. It was busy time. There was one particular 2-week period I was doing a movie called Unforgettable with Ray Liotta.
Oh yeah.
Chris O'Donnell and David Paymer. And we were doing this movie called Unforgettable, and it was like 2 weeks of nights. And I remember that I would go to work at 4 in the afternoon. I'd finish at 4 in the morning. I'd run home, grab a couple hours sleep, get up at 8 o'clock, shoot cartoons all day, then go to the set at 4 o'clock, shoot till 4. And it got to the point where I was like, if I sat down at any time, anywhere, I was asleep.
You were asleep.
It was just like, it was quite embarrassing at one time because I remember I fell asleep in a chair on the set of MacGyver. and I was in my chair, my cast chair, and I'm just sitting there watching the action, and you hear, "What the hell is that?" Garry Chalk, wake up. I said, "What? I'm awake." And he said, "You're snoring like a goddamn banshee. Jesus Murphy." And I went, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't even realize that I was asleep."
Yeah.
But I had fallen asleep, and only briefly, like 10 minutes. But oh man, but
You're working hard.
well, that's it. And it was pretty hectic and so much fun.
One movie in between. You're doing a lot of these cartoons like Camp Candy, which is so cool. But because of who was in it. Yes, Virginia. There is a Santa Claus. Bronson, like one of his towards the end. It's in his last 5 films.
Oh yeah, Charles Bronson when we did Seawolf.
Oh
He was and Yes, Virginia.
yeah.
Well, I did 2 movies with him.
Yeah.
And the same producer. And Michael Anderson directed the Seawolf, and I think Duke Fennedy was either the producer or the director on Yes, Virginia. And that's why I broke the stunt coordinator's nose.
Oh no!
Accidentally. It was his own fault, but I broke his nose and it was pretty bad. But my stunt double, who was named Tony Morelli, was killing himself laughing. He was falling about. He said, "Yeah, snapping asshole. What the hell?" Because he was saying, "No, you got to sell that punch." I was supposed to hit Richard Thomas. He goes, "Sell that punch. Sell that punch." And he says, "How much more do you want? That's pretty big." And he goes, "No, I want you to really sell it." So I went wham like that, and he was standing right there, and I got him a hammer right across his nose like that. Dropped him like a sack of potatoes. Oh my God, it was so upsetting because I'd never heard anybody on set before, and that was quite something. But Tony thought it was really funny.
That's funny.
But poor Tony, he doubled for me for a while. He passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. But he's like the world champion kickboxer fighter. He was
wow.
Amazing, yeah. And and Yes, Virginia, that was fun. And Charles was great, and the other one, Seawolf, that was a great adventure. We were on the water on a 100-year-old sailboat for a couple of 3 weeks, sailing up and down Georgia Strait, and there was Charles Bronson, there was Clive Reville, Len Cariou, Mary Elizabeth. What's her last name? Mary Elizabeth.
I should know
it. Christopher Reeve. Who else was on there? Oh, there was a few people, but it was great fun. That was Chris, and they were all so good. And he was such a strong man, that Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
He was, we actually just did a Death Wish 3 reunion with a bunch of the bad guys. So like Alex Winter and this guy, Tony Spiridakis and Kirk Taylor, because it was Charles Bronson. It would have been his 100th birthday back in November.
Yeah.
Which is still wild when you think about it. He was only going to be 100, but he was still doing those like Death Wish movies, and he was in his mid 60s. The last one, I think he was like 72 when he did the last one, but no, he was always
like the bull.
Oh yeah, always.
No, I really liked him, but that was such a fun cast. Clive Reville, Len Cariou was the guy who you wouldn't know him, but maybe you would. But he played Sweeney Todd, the original Sweeney Todd Broadway show. He was Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. He was the original Sweeney on Broadway.
So you were talking about Catherine Mary Stewart.
Catherine Mary Stewart, that's the one.
And then Mark Singer was in that too. So there was a ton of people.
Mark Singer. Now I hadn't seen him in years, and I ran into him in New York at a convention or Comic-Con.
Yeah.
in New York. It got to be like 15 years ago, I guess. That was the last time I saw him. And his sister was there too.
And then even that same year, you did another cool movie. Like, and it was like a TV movie, but The Odd Couple Together Again. You're in
Oh
that.
yeah, what?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was Tony Randall and
Klugman, Jack Klugman.
Jack Klugman, and Jack Klugman was suffering from throat cancer at that time. That's why he had this voice. He talked like this all the time. But I didn't get on with Mr. Randall too much. Tony was a bit of a dick. Well, because I was a recording engineer, and I'm supposed to do this whole thing, and I literally live in a recording studio.
Yeah,
and so I know what I'm supposed to do. And he goes, "No, we don't want to do that. No, I'll do this. And I said, "No, I was hired to do this. I'm doing it." And he goes, "No, I'm doing it." And I said, "So what am I going to do?" "Well, you just sit there and watch." And I said, "Fuck you!" Sorry, bleep it out.
That's fine.
I got mad. I just, what the hell, you know?
Weird.
And
That's so weird that your role is engineer, and he says, "No, I'll do it," and you just
So he took over because it was he was doing this commercial spot with Suki Kaiser was the character, the girl behind in the booth. Suki, absolutely lovely woman, just adored her. And Steve Savage Holland was the director.
Oh, nice.
And I love Steve Holland. He's just the greatest guy. And we did another show together called Beans Baxter.
Yeah. Oh, you were in that too. So I talked to another Vancouver. Not like Vancouver's a small town, everybody should bump into each other. But Jerry Wasserman, who was also
Jerry.
Okay, yeah, I interviewed him like a while ago, and I was going to mention it before, but his little scene as in the flashback of when in The Fly, Fly 2, he ended up, whoever did the special effects for his arm getting chewed down to bone from the dog, that was on the cover of Fangoria magazine.
Oh yeah, I know.
His arm. Cool, hey? That's so funny. Jerry Wasserman. Such a small world.
He's a professor at the university too.
He is, yeah. I was talking to him in TF. That's great.
But I did Beans with Steve Holland.
Such a cool show. I talked to Stuart Fratkin, who was Woodshop.
Oh yeah.
What a cool show.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Oh, there was some funny stuff on that show, boy. I love that. And then I got to work with Steve Holland again. We did a movie called Big Time Movie with a boy band called Big Time Rush.
Oh, yeah. That was like in the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was hilarious fun.
Nice.
Just loved it. We just had so much fun. And the guys in the band were great. And it was like a high school comedy, right?
Yeah.
I got to eat the scenery, and I played the head of MI6 and try some Japanese torture. Well, it was just great fun, and it was a great guy to work with. But there you go. So,
yeah,
more adventures everywhere.
No, I love it. And another person that you worked with, and I think it's so cool because it's such a, obviously all the credits you did voice and acting are huge, but Reboot, I talked with Michael Benyere, and a guy that you probably have worked with so many different times and for so many episodes, but that was such a that was a huge show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Reboot was, I played Hack. I played Hack, Turbo, Cyrus, Doc Fingers, Al, and who else did I play? I played somebody else in there. I can't remember who it was, but I remember digits. But Michael played Bob.
Yeah,
and he was great. Well, I did a side story. I did Michael Benya's first movie. I think it was called Camp Nowhere or something, or Camp Erewhon, and it was with the Bob and Doug McKenzie guys.
Oh, nice.
and the guy who played, do you remember seeing the Prince of Bel-Air, the black guy who had the famous dance?
Oh, Alfonso Ribeiro.
Alfonso Ribeiro, that's right. I
Yeah.
never realized what an amazing singer he was.
Yeah.
He was an incredible singer. He had a fabulous voice, but he was very funny in the movie. And we did that back in 1987, I think.
Wow.
86, 87. And Benyer was just a kid. And also Venus Terzo, who was on that. She was one of her first movies. And then we did another one with what's it? Sorry, my senior brain gets me.
No, it's not senior brain. It's 400 different credits. It's hard to remember.
What's the name? What's his name? Who did? Thank God I'm a country boy.
Oh, John Denver.
John Denver. Yeah, I did a movie with John Denver, and there's John Denver and John Rhys Davies, and
oh, nice.
The guy from Cobra Kai, the new Cobra Kai.
Billy Zapta?
No, the older guy. He does the commercials.
Oh, I should know his name.
It'll come to me. Anyway, but that was so long ago. But it was great. And Denver was just the nicest man you could ever meet.
Yeah.
He's just the greatest guy. And on our wrap party of our show, he came and gave us a concert at the venue where we had our wrap party. And he gave us a concert. And it was just magic. It was just magic. I just loved it. And then years later, like a few years ago, I did the story of John Denver, and I played his manager, and Chad Lowe played John Denver, and I think his wife at the time, or his girlfriend at the time, Kirsten Dunst played his wife.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of an odd thing.
Yeah, it's like a full circle kind of thing, you know. You work with him, and then
do a movie about his life story. Yeah, so it was pretty wild.
You know, one person that you've worked with a lot, and then we'll get to it because I know you said you had a few Freddy versus Jason, but Lachlan Monroe, because you were in a movie I've never seen until I watched it last night. Was Camouflage. I've never even heard that movie. I don't know how, and the fact that I went through like this little IMDb like kind of hole, because I do that when I interview people. I watch movies, I do research, and the fact that Billy Bob Thornton was involved in writing that movie, and he used that pseudonym for it, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. But your scene, you're in the the first scene in the movie is so funny with you and Lachlan.
Yeah, I love Lachlan. I've done so many shows with Lachlan Monroe. It's like we used to do all these disease of the week. I used to call them movies. And I used to play his dad, or he played the bad guy to my good guy. And a movie I had just done recently, a low budget. It was a low budget movie. What the hell was it? Oh, it was called Road to Ithria. And I wasn't actually in the movie, but I voiced one of the leads because he couldn't speak English or something. It was about Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And I voiced his character, and it actually looks really good. So it's pretty good. And Lachlan was playing a U.S. Diplomatic guy in it.
So no matter what, you're there for him, even if you're not physically there.
Yeah. Well, Lachlan and I really like Lachlan. I've basically been with him through most of his career. So.
Yeah, no, that was like not saying I'm sure his beginnings were before like Dead Man on Campus and Scary Movie and like Camouflage, like that part of it. But no, because you worked at Freddy vs. Jason. I'm just thinking the bigger ones that I remember, and then even like a few years ago, I didn't know about the Afghanistan one, but Max 2, he plays the president in that movie, and
no, it was the CIA guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had that little bit. And the reason I got that part, it was just a small part in the movie at the beginning of the movie, I think. And the reason I got it is because the director directed a movie called Scooby-Doo. It was a Scooby-Doo movie. which I did. I played Vice Principal Grimes. And then I did another movie with him called Christmas Story 2.
Yep.
And then he said, "Hey, you want to come and do this movie? It's called Max 2." And I said, "Sure, okay." So I went and did that scene with the dog jumping over us and all that. That was great. That was great. And Lachlan played the president. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was just on TV the other day.
Yeah.
So
no, I just love in camouflage that you punch him in the face. You're his manager, laughing in his face, punch him, and then Leslie Nielsen starts choking you out with a pool cue.
Yeah. And there's a funny guy, Leslie Nielsen. Oh, my God. And he carried this bloody little fart machine in his pocket.
I love that. That's the greatest story I've ever heard about him, that he does that.
And he'd be sitting there and he'd go like that. And I go, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, sorry. It's just like this is oat bran diet of mine now." But, he was such a serious actor in his early career.
Yeah.
And he became a comedian late on in life with Airplane.
Yeah. And that worked. That was like probably, I don't know, I'm sure there's movies before that happened, that a serious actor really played the role, and that's what made it funny. But that's the one that I think changed it for comedy, because then you saw that movie, somebody playing so serious in this role, like Don't Call Me Shirley. Yes, exactly.
And Police Squad.
All those movies. Yeah. Wow. So Freddy versus Jason.
Freddy versus Jason. Great.
Because I just talked to Ken, which is so funny. I talked to him like last month, and I think it was right when we first connected, and I told him that, and he was like, "Oh, really?" But yeah, so that movie was so good, and your role was so cool, because especially when you're combining these two franchises, which they were really trying to do for 15 years, like the one that was shot in Vancouver, Jason Takes Manhattan. That was supposed to be, which Ken worked on. That was supposed to be Freddy vs. Jason, but they couldn't come to terms on it. So 15 years later, you work on that movie, and your role was cool. I thought it was so neat that you were trying to hide the secret, and Lachlan was the new cop.
You up.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember that. I remember Ronnie Yu. I did a movie with Ronnie Yu before that.
Oh, okay.
It was called, I can't remember if it was called The Fearless Four or something like that. It was about this animated animals, like a muskox and camels and stuff. And they were, it was a very strange movie. But Ronnie Yu was hilarious. Because you come down the stair. I listened to him give a direction to the actress. You come down the stair. Okay, you are scared, but you're not scared. Okay, so you're coming down, and then you're more concerned. So there's a concern, and then you go around the corner and you say, "Ha! I want that moment."
Amazing.
Oh, he was just great. Why are you so fat? You're too fat. He just. What was the name of the actress? The lead actress.
I should know her name.
I keep thinking Hayden Panettiere, but it wasn't. It was someone like that.
I gotta look it up.
What's her name?
It was Monica Keena.
Monica Keena, that's right. And he's going, "Wow, you're American girl, so fat. Why are you so fat?" And she's not. She's
I know, gorgeous. Not at all.
Not at all. But oh God. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and all the crowds and the killing Freddie, and great story! I got a great story for you.
Sweet.
For that movie. Okay, so a friend of mine, her daughter, Aaliyah, I think that's her name. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but it was her 13th birthday, and. She had somehow found out that I was working, like her mom found out I was working on the movie. And I said, "Oh yeah, there's, that gal from, the singing group with
Destiny's Child." Yeah. Kelly Rowland.
Yeah. Kelly Rowland. That's right. Kelly Rowland. And she said, "Oh, she is such a huge fan of Kelly Rowland's. Can you somehow get her to meet for her birthday? And I said, I don't know. I'll check. So I went to the studio and I went to the producers and they said, oh, sure, bring her out. So I said, okay. So her mother had given me a bag of like Kelly Rowland records and whatnot so that she could sign them, right? Unbeknownst to the daughter. The daughter had no idea. I said, I'm just going to take you to the set for the day for your birthday. You just got to have a look. And so I take her to the set and we're looking and we see Ken as Jason. So we say hello and she takes a picture with Ken. That was great. And it was I don't know if you saw the movie, but remember the log cabin when the log cabin's on fire?
Oh my God. That day you brought her?
Yeah. And the cabin's on fire and Kelly comes out and she's all covered in blood and gore like this. And so the special effects guy was showing her the breakaway glass. So she smacked the glass over my head and shattered my head, which she thought was hilarious. And so we're sitting in two of the director's chairs, like the cast chairs. And I see Kelly walking down. And I say, hey, Kel, what's up? And she goes, oh, nothing, just having another day, And I said, Kel, it's my friend here. It's her 13th birthday. Can you come and say hello? And she comes over and she goes, and this is Kelly Rowland. Remember her? And she goes like this. Oh, hi, as a 13-year-old girl would do. Hi. And she says, so it's your birthday. She goes, yes. She goes, well, come on, girl, let's have a chat. So they went into the makeup trailer so she could clean all the gore off. And they sat there for an hour and just chatted. She signed I got her to sign all her stuff. And then we were there for I don't know, about an hour and a half maybe or so. And then we went home. Well, for crying out loud, she talked about that day for a year. All she could think about, and there was this time, and I couldn't believe it. And there she was. She was right there. And we talked, and we said, oh, it was so cool. And Kelly was so nice to her. She was just a doll to her. I mean, just very friendly and outgoing. So it was a great little story.
Yeah, that's like a forever memory. That and sending the Inside Out cat.
Oh, yeah. The Inside Out cat. That was a funny one.
That's great. Oh, man.
Yeah, he offered me $100, but I said, no, you're a friend.
So for movies like that, when do you have to be on set for a day like that when it's not your scene, or you just love to be around for it?
No, I asked, I had to get permission from producers and the on-set production supervisor for safety reasons.
Yeah.
And I wasn't working that day, but I had access to the studio because we were at Lionsgate Studios at that day. I had access to the studio, so I just said, well, can I bring her? And she said, no problem at all, bring her up. And that's nice. And we'll see how it goes. And it turned out to be a great day for her.
That's awesome. Day. No, yeah. I thought you were going to say, if you remember that scene, I thought you were going to say you brought her on the day when she starts talking smack to Freddie.
Oh, no, I never got that.
That's how I thought the story was going to end. When you said the log cabin's on fire, I'm like, oh, man, that 13-year-old kid would hear Kelly Rowland say things that she never thought.
Oh, no, she never heard any of that. So it was okay.
What a great movie, really, like combining the two franchises like in the perfect way. And I think Ronnie was the perfect person to do it because everything was so fast. All the kills, really, it wasn't like elongated. It was like just a great movie, and it's so fast. That's what I love about it.
Oh, you know what's going to really kill you?
Yeah.
Are you ready? You remember the house? The house where they lived on the street where we
on Elm Street,
went over to. Well, the street is actually named Elm Street.
It is. That's
It's
great.
in real life. It's Elm Street. In real life, it's Elm Street. It's not. It's not a pretend street. It's actually named Elm Street. So I
In
thought it was quite.
Vancouver? Was that
Yeah,
somewhere
in
in Vancouver?
Vancouver.
Because that
In
house looked
Vancouver, yeah.
good. That looked like the one that's in LA. Well, I think
69, like 6900 block Elm. It's by. It's around 49th, 50th, somewhere around there, just off of Granville Street. And it's in a high-end area, rich area. Yeah, it's a pretty good house, though. Good match, though, hey?
Garry, this has been so cool. One thing I think it's so cool is I always love to find out how people got started, and the fact that if the stock market didn't crash in '79, I think, right? Black
Yeah,
Tuesday in '79.
yeah, yeah.
If that didn't happen, you wouldn't have
I'd
you
still
wouldn't have
be
done any of this.
selling stuff. No, I'd probably be dead of a heart attack because of all the stress of working in that business. A lot of guys who I worked with did pass away early, so. But yeah, I could have because I love that business too. I love the
Yeah.
whole idea of. That's where I developed the voice because when I my first job in the stock market, I was what they call a board marker, where we had to write the numbers down manually on the
Yeah.
exchange wall. And all of us, it's very odd, all of us are left-handed. All the board markers, every one of them was left-handed. And there's like four of us. And it's just odd that one of the hiring criteria is they had to be left-handed.
That is weird.
And the reason why is because when they're putting up the quotes, they write like this. So the quote is always exposed because the trades go really, really fast. And I worked on there for almost a year, and then they took me off and made me a junior trader on the floor, what they call a phone boy. And I was on the phone taking orders and then putting the orders up on the wall. And then I became a junior trader. And as a junior trader, it was my responsibility to exercise cross transactions and buy and sell transactions and put up all the open orders for the day, open buy, open sell every morning. And it got pretty hectic, So you've got like 140 guys on the floor and they're all yelling at the same time, right? And I'm yelling on the bit of freehold, on the bit of IHO and all this. And at the end of the day, I lost my voice. So my boss, Mr. Donaldson, he goes up to me and he goes, "Gary, you got to speak from your tummy. If you don't speak from your tummy, you're going to lose your voice. So when I say on the bit of batter, open up and yell that number because we want to hear that voice." So I said, okay. And I got my voice back after a couple of days. And I did what he said. I opened up and, like this, on the bit of batter. And I could yell all day. But as a result of that, when I went to theater school, I had this beautiful, well-modulated and quite wonderful voice that everybody loved to hear, because it sounded so great. They didn't know that I got it from yelling on the floor at the stock exchange.
Do you do that when you do voice roles? Or you like, you know what, this one, I think it would sound like Mr. Donaldson, or this one would sound like Mr. Smith, my grade school teacher. They're inspired by people?
Well, I had one that was Mr. Burr. Mr. Burr was, he was quite a character at our school. A bit of an old school kind of character. I mimicked him and got kicked out of school for the day. Said, everybody, there's been a technical problem here. We have a problem with the furnaces, so everybody has to go home at noon. Because I got into the office and got on the tannoy.
That's amazing.
And Mr. Burr comes on and he goes, no, stay here. Yeah, I remember that. But no, you find some of your best voices come from people that you know, that you see.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember there was a guy who was kind of a stalker of mine, and he used to come and he'd find me and ask me questions all the time on the street, and I go, okay, and then I actually used his voice in a cartoon called Scary Godmother, and I said, I just want to, and you come up to me and it's Mr. Chalk, Mr. Chalk, I just like to ask you a question, just one question, please. If I could be so kind, if you could be so kind to answer me this. When you were with Rat Trap in episode 9, and so I thought, this is a great one. Oh, Scary Godmother, I do love to come out and play with you, but Halloween, it's Halloween, So I just used that voice. But
how did he find you? Was this like, is this like internet age or? Oh, yeah, it was, okay.
Yeah. Ron heard, just one more question. Could I just ask one more question? And I go, okay, sure, ask away. Because that's one thing I've never done. I've never turned anybody away. Never have. Just because it takes 2 minutes to answer a question, and
totally.
I know energy, so there you go.
And they remember it forever. Like, there's probably so many of those you've done over the year that somebody tells their friend at a cocktail party, be like, "Hey, you ever see so and so? I talked to him. I picked, I grabbed his ear at a bar and I talked to him for 20 minutes or something."
Oh yeah, well, a friend of mine asked me to come and talk to a group of young filmmakers yesterday or last night, and
cool.
So I went out and because they wanted to ask me about filmmaking from an actor's point of view, and how should a new director deal with casting and deal with actors, and I thought, sure, I can do that. I'll do that because I've worked with a lot of different kinds of directors.
Yeah,
and good ones, bad ones, and outright crazy ones. And but I walked in the door and everybody started clapping. I said, "Oh, you're clapping, but I haven't even said anything yet." But I had a bit of a rep, and so we talked for a few hours about casting, about directing style, about acting, about the process, and all the things that have the preparation of scripts, storyboarding, and all those things that I actually know a lot about that I didn't think I knew.
Yeah.
But when I get right down to it, hell almighty, I know a lot of stuff about making movies.
Yeah.
So it was quite a rewarding experience, and we had a great old time. And then they had a couple actors come in, and they were going to block the actors and direct the actors and how they would direct it for film. And
that's great.
That was good.
What would you say, Garry, is like the biggest difference from like way back in the 80s, like when you started acting, to like now? Is it like, what would you say that, is there any like difference that you could look at when you showed up on set in the 80s versus now from your perspective?
Well, yeah, for a start, technology has made filmmaking a lot easier.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot. You can shoot a movie. What used to take several months now only takes a few weeks.
Yeah,
like I remember shooting TV movies would take 6 weeks to shoot, and now they take 14 days. Yeah. So it's or 15 days, or sometimes 21 days if it's got technical or a lot of, But there's just things like that. Everything's digital cameras, digital lights. The lights are all the LEDs, and they blend the gels within the lights, which makes it really great, and they're less expensive and not so hot.
Yeah.
Because the old arc lights, it got so hot under those lights when you're on stage. And now the LEDs, it makes it nice and cool and comfortable. The digital wireless microphones. I remember having to wear a big round microphone under my shirt with a cable that went out of my pant leg and then it stretched across the floor. Because they didn't have wireless, and everything was done on tape. It's recorded on tape and also film. So you only got 10 minutes of film per reel. So you're always, changing reels, and it was you really had to be on your game and know your stuff right away. And I found expensive. That it was it was. Those things cost $1,000 a reel, and you didn't have the instant playback. It was all done by the old. They'd do this and this and this and said, okay, this is all right. We're going to do a wide here. We're going to cut it down into a close up right here to make that work. And that's what they would, and that wasn't a joke. That's how they did it. That's how they framed like that. Then they got the Scopy thing for the high budget things, where the guy looks through his thing and he finds a different lens. Now they have an app for that, called Artemis, and there's this app that you can put it on your phone. It costs like $100 or something, or $80. I can't remember. It's called Artemis, and it mimics the lens picture look through of every kind of camera.
Wow.
And every lens. So if you're using Artemis, or if you're using a Lexus or Red or 35 mil, it'll give you all the lenses, and you'll go, okay, I'm going to put an 80 mil lens here for this shot. It's going to need a little bit of a telescope. So they click in 80 mil, and that's what it looks like. And you go, oh, okay, cool. With all the framing for feature film and television built right in. So it's the technology these days is amazing. One of the most amazing things before I go there, one thing I found that when I first started, I was so excited going to work on set. It was just, I loved the smell of it and the sound of it and the people and this organized chaos. But I took it upon myself over the years to learn the job of every single person on set. So I knew exactly what everybody did.
Nice.
And why they did it and how they did it. Because you just want to know. Because when you walk on the set, you think, oh, it's just a bunch of people milling around doing shit. No. Every person on that set has this very specific job. And it's fascinating when you know what the jobs. It's fascinating to watch them work. It's pretty cool. So there was that, and I was very, very excited to be on the set. It was like, I remember when I got the Fly 2, I'd be driving in my car, driving to set in the summer morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be laughing my ass off, going, "Hi, I'm doing a movie. I'm doing a movie for 3 months, so I'm in heaven." And it was the most wonderful feeling in the world. And I got to tell you that even today, I still have the same excitement. It's not the newness, but I have the same excitement. The only difference is now I'm having fun, because it's all like all the stuff that we do on set is kind of like second nature.
Yeah.
You know, all the marks and the camera and the angles, you're not worried about anything. All you're concerned about is your performance and what you put on the screen. And when you can relax into that, you don't have to be concerned about anything else over here, just this. It's so freeing, and it's so much fun. And that's one thing I've always said to young actors. I was working with a young actor last year. I think it was only his first or second show. I can't remember, second show. But he was a bit nervous. And I said, "Look, man, no, we're just having fun. It's just me and you sitting here talking, hanging out, having a good time." And it was so relaxed and so easy. And when they watch the scene, it's so relaxed, so natural, and so wonderful. And you just go, and that's what it's all about. It's just enjoy what you're doing. You can be, as emotional as all get out or whatever, but still, you always remember that this is acting, but I call it, reacting is what I call it. But
and you're still busy, man. Like even the last few years, like Day of the Dead, Tribal.
That was fun.
You have so many different shows, even ones that are in post production right now. So
yeah,
you're still working.
I'm still at it.
Yeah.
Tribal was fun. I really loved that show. It was one of my favorites. I had some great work in that. One of my all-time favorite series to work on was Cold Squad. Cold Squad, I was on 7 years, I guess, and it was a joy to go to work, because my castmates were so wonderful, and the directors, and they were all just a great crew. I've become great friends with a lot of them, and just had a wonderful time. The Killing was a fantastic show. That gal Mireille Enos and Joel Kinnaman, man, what a treat to work with those guys.
Yeah, that's a cool show. And then right before that, you were in another show that I liked. I looked at Alcatraz. You were in one episode of that.
Oh,
that was a funky show. That show should have been on forever. It was so cool. Great cast.
So expensive.
It was.
Yeah. And Sam Neill was so great. I really liked him. And the warden, the English guy, Johnny.
Yeah.
He was fantastic and just the nicest guy. And Maiko Neal, who is Sam Neill's daughter, who's a singer. She came and sang at the place where I sing at all the time and played and hang out. And that was great fun. And that kid from what was the name of the show?
The Lost, Jorge Garcia.
Was that Jorge Garcia? Yeah, Jorge Garcia was in it. And the kid from Mr. Mercedes, I think. The villain from Mr. Mercedes. I think that was him, or iRobot. I can't remember.
There's I don't know if I'm looking at the cast, but I know Robert Forster was the main lead's dad.
Oh,
He owned like the bar in the show. What was so expensive about it? Was it just?
Oh, I don't know, but it would just cost a lot of money, and apparently they just didn't know if it could go anywhere. But I thought it was amazing.
I loved
the episodes I saw was just great. I was so pissed off when it got canceled.
I need to go back and watch it. I started watching Wise Guy again last night. I saw it on your IMDb, and that first. It's a great series, but the first 10 episodes with Ray Sharkey are just so good.
Oh, yeah. I did the pilot. That's the
I
remember that.
Yeah.
And then I did later on, years later, I did one episode as a bartender in that show. That's, because I worked with Jim Burns a lot. And I remember that was my first foray into the Cannell world. Was Wise Guy, because then after that I did all those shows, Viper and 21 Jump Street and Pure Luck and all the Cannell shows. They did them. Yeah, they called me. I had several directors that I used to work with, Jim Contner and who else was in there? David Nutter, I think, was there, and they were just wonderful. And and Contner used to always call me the go-to guy. I was the go-to guy.
Nice.
I need a cup. Go to him. So I worked all the time on those shows.